I was born in Philadelphia, raised in North Philadelphia until I was about 18, and then we moved to the Mount Airy section, West Oak Lane, Mount Airy, Germantown, whichever you want to call it, in Philadelphia.
Where did you live in Germantown?
I lived at 20th and Nedrow. I lived on Mount Airy Avenue. I lived there twice. I lived on Nedrow Avenue.
So you were bouncing around.
Yeah, I was bouncing around between West Oak Lane, Mount Airy, Germantown. Yeah.
How about you, Tony?
I was born and raised in Philadelphia, North Philly, like her, but we moved to South Jersey. We left Philadelphia, moved to South Jersey, and then we did everything from there.
Okay, where in South Jersey?
Sicklerville, right around from Freeway Golf Course in Sicklerville.
And then I guess I must say, too, at 23, I left Philadelphia, moved to New Jersey, but I always worked in Philadelphia. So most of my adult life was in New Jersey. All right, my mother's name was Mary Stewart when she met my father, Joseph Wilkins. They were both from Virginia. My father was from Lawrenceville, Virginia, and my mother, Alberta, Virginia. They didn't meet, though, until they both came to Philadelphia during that Great Migration. And they met in Germantown, and they married. I was the second of 6 children. And unfortunately, they both deceased.
Tony, how about you? Parents?
Parents was born,
Names.
Willie Oscar Cooper and Roberta Tinney, then Cooper. Now, when they was married, I'm not too sure about. But, yeah, they married, and
But your dad was from Georgia.
yeah, he was from Georgia. And like I said, then he migrated to Philadelphia, like everybody else, after the service. Yeah, after the service.
Was your mom a Philadelphian?
Huh?
Your
Mom
mother?
of Philadelphia, yeah, she worked.
She
She was born in North Philly.
Okay, now, what kind of work did your mom and dad do, both of you?
Okay, my dad, from everything I can remember, he worked at a steel factory. It was called Dodge Steel in the northeast section of Philadelphia. That's and I can remember he worked at another factory called Exide, but those were the 2 jobs that I can remember. So, but he was there for a long period until he retired. What else did you
Your
ask?
mother?
And my mother was a homemaker until we kind of got up a little bit. Then she started doing a few days work, domestic work, 2 or 3 days a week. And that was it.
Tony?
And my dad, when he moved to Philadelphia, worked for Bud Plant. And I don't think he retired from there. He started a business in the bar business from Dunfin Arts, Thunderbird. And from there, that's where, like I say, he started in the club business and all the way up. And my mom was a tailor. She had a cleaners on 31st and Burt's. And that was her thing. So between them 2, yeah, that's where I come from.
What was the name of the cleaners?
Style Line.
We met initially, I believe, with me visiting Slim Cooper's.
Yeah, but we lived right around the corner from one another.
Yeah, but I don't think we really knew each other.
No,
at
we
that
didn't.
time.
I knew your brother.
Okay. But that's basically how we met. Me visiting him and his dad's bar, Slim Cooper's.
Okay, so your dad started some Coopers.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
year was that?
His dad was Slim Cooper's.
It originally was a tree lounge. What was that?
I'm trying to think. We
70.
we were there 27 years, and I think we sold it in 2000 I think. So go back 27 years, and we're talking about 1970.
74.
74 was it? Okay.
My first year at Lincoln University.
So did your dad always have jazz there?
Nah. Like I said, it was a regular club. I think my thing is, I think the thing started when the teachers used to come in there after school, and Tony Williams was one of the teachers. I mean, well,
Yeah,
teacher principal.
He was a teacher.
And they started talking, and they said, he said, Slim, well, I know some people come through, and Dad said, yeah, and he said, well, give me a good time, and he said 4 to 8. 4 to 8 was it.
On Fridays.
On
And it
Fridays.
started with Tony Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dave Posmatier, Al Gregson.
Okay. So Tony Williams was the impetus to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you remember what year you started the jazz?
I would say
With Tony Williams, that was a little before my time. I mean, it was before we were married. So I don't know. What would you say?
I'd say around 80, 81.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. That was when, like I said, real jazz started. Because we was in there for a while.
Yeah, and then it stopped for a while. It stopped because I know when your dad died, it was right after that we started it up again with Eddie Green.
mm-hmm.
So that was about 93,
Three.
94. But so, I mean, it had started back in the 80s with Tony Williams, but then there was a lull where it wasn't any jazz for a while.
Okay.
And then after he passed, we brought it back.
Okay, so your main clientele at first were teachers after work?
After work, yeah. Like I said, after school, like I said, the scene didn't start till like after 3 o'clock. After people got off work. That's when you get your crowd.
But that's what she said, yeah, it was educators, put it that way, that got him to start the jazz. So that was the clientele.
And did you do anything in the club to make them comfortable, knowing your clientele were teachers?
Oh yeah,
Any special stuff
like I
that you
say,
did?
oh yeah, everything, everything. Like I said, the day didn't start till 3 o'clock, so you had to be ready by that. You had to have everything set up,
No,
ready.
She's asking, did you do anything special for educators?
Yeah, well, just like different kinds of food you might
Right,
have.
right.
Okay.
That was big, like I said, the kitchen. I don't think they did anything special. They just
But they had food.
food, right?
What did you serve?
No, I can speak from 93 on. Okay. We had different chefs that would come in the kitchen. So we served everything from shrimp, fish, chicken, you could say Italian food, soul food. It depended on the chef, on the cook, and
Yeah,
what his expertise was in.
My
But there was
dad,
always
a
food.
couple different chefs come in. I can't remember their names, but yeah, what was the big? I don't think you remember the big guy.
That was big.
Yeah, I can't remember their names, but there was different chefs come in. That was the thing, you had bring the chefs and the good kitchen. I remember one's name was Al somebody. I forget.
There were a number of them. Some would come and stay, some would stay a year or two, some would stay 6 months, so it just depended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you like working in a bar? Because he grew up with it, but
Well, I did because I'm a people person.
yeah.
So I always used to say he was like operations and I was marketing and hosting.
That's how it
Yeah,
went.
and that's how it went.
That's how it went.
My part was the jazz and the booking and the books. but he did everything else. I mean, the stocking, the hiring, you know. So,
All right,
but I loved it. Yes.
did you grow up in a musical family?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
I did. I moved in. Well, I had a sister who was 10 years older than I, with none in between, no siblings in between. So that's where I got jazz from. She was older than I was. Of course, I was more Motown era, but I grew up around jazz, and that included my parents too. So no musicians, but just a lot of music. Always music around.
Tony?
Yeah, I grew up playing drums, and that's why I knew her brother from. We was
Yeah,
drummers.
I did have a drummer brother.
And like I say, when he passed, I got his set. Remember?
Okay.
Yeah, and like my dad, he loved music,
Yeah, he did. He
and
was
he had a
jazz
cousin
lover.
Albert, who was the
An
original drifter.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he's downstairs.
On the wall.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can I get you each to name all of your siblings, give you their names
Sure.
each, and also, where you all went to school or churches you attended?
Okay.
Yeah.
I had my oldest sister's name was Josephine, named after my father. And like I said, she was 10 years older than I. As my mom used to always say, she thought she was only going to have one child, but 10 years later I came along. And then I have a brother named after my father, Joseph. I have a sister, Rose. She's deceased now, and my older sister is deceased. And then after Rose was my brother, Keith, who was the drummer. He's deceased. And I have my youngest sister, Sheila. And she's still in Mount Airy.
I have me, my mom, and my dad.
He's an only child.
Yeah, and we was born, like I say, in Philly, but I went to Most Precious Blood, right there on 28th and Diamond.
To school.
Yeah, Catholic school. And then I went to, we left there when we went to Jersey. I went to military school in Stratford. Then Highland Regional High School in Blackwood. Then Lincoln University.
And I started school in Frankfort, which is the section of Philadelphia I was born in. And so I did, my first 2 years of elementary school was there at Henry. And then we moved to North Philly, and I went to Harrison. And from Harrison in the 5th grade, I was one of the first students to open Masterman. That was in I was 5th grade. I forget, I guess about 56 or something like that. But anyway, when Masterman opened, they went throughout the school district, the city, and selected 5 or 6 students, supposedly the gifted children in the schools. And that's how Masterman opened. And I was one of those. And I started there in the 5th grade, graduated Masterman in 9th grade. I did part of elementary and finished junior high there. There was no high school then. It only went to 9th grade. And then I finished at Dobbins. I graduated from Dobbins. And since then, I did some time. I did a couple semesters at St. Joe's, Pierce. And then later in life, I decided to go back, and I got my bachelor's and I got my master's. So, yeah.
So what did you work at before you were at the bar?
Oh, that's a good question. I started work it was at that time Bell Telephone. And of course, it turned to Bell PA and then Bell Atlantic. Today it's Verizon, but I did 30 years with the telephone company. And I retired there in 97, and that's when I started full-time basically with the bar.
All right, now what do you think made your club so unique to the jazz community? What do you think made it so special?
Me, myself, I think it was just the love of music, of the jazz music, one. And then number two, it was just the community of people that were there. It was the love of the music that just created an atmosphere and an environment that was kind of like no other. It was, it was fun. It was great, and that's what I miss about it. The people, the love, the music, and then it was a spot that the musicians came to hang out. When they finished playing, they would come there. So it was just we had a rapport, and just the love for each other, and our love for music, for the jazz music. That's what it kind
I
of.
remember when Eddie Green, because I was during the Eddie Green period.
Right.
Eddie and Tyrone Brown,
Right.
Yeah.
Jim Miller,
Uh-huh.
and every time they would request from Eddie, play Janine.
Yeah,
play Janine."
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and when we started it back up after his dad passed, we started with Eddie Green, Eddie, Jim, and Tyrone Brown. So they were there like every Friday until, thanks to a lady named Sue Ford, who kind of turned me on, and she was my mentor
Oh,
and taught me and introduced me to everything about the jazz business and she had all of the contacts and
did she
that's
help
how
you
we
with
could.
the marketing and the advertising?
Yeah, she helped me with everything. She was a true mentor, and she was she was a dedicated jazz lover, and
She was so good, we gave her our own chair
she did. She had
with
her
a
own
name on
chair.
it and everything.
Yeah, yeah. She truly. And then that was another thing that made it unique, because everybody knew that Sue would be right there in that chair every Friday, and she had a personality. Personality plus when it came to so.
How did you meet Sue?
I met Sue. I had seen Sue a few times, like at the Blue Note and stuff at different places, but I had never really met her. And then when we decided to get Eddie Green back, and the way we got Eddie was, I didn't really know Eddie, but our manager at the bar, Eddie, Fast Eddie, they used to call him, he knew how to contact Eddie. So that's how we got Eddie Green. And then Sue came to his first night there, and I introduced myself as Tony's wife, and we started talking, and it just took off from there. She was
She was a great
She was great.
promoter.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was.